I'm going to be having generative AI and lasers. No, I'm kidding. That's a little too far. That's 2026. Laser eyes.
Today, I'm going to be interviewing Chris Pratt, the owner of SCREAMIUM and the designer of the 20-inch giant skull. For everything scary, I'm GMHaunts, and welcome to a brand new interview right here on the GMHaunts YouTube channel. It has been a hot minute since the last time I did an interview, which is why I am so excited for this video, and I'm even more excited because the guest I have on today is a very, very interesting person with a great story to tell. And if you saw my last video, we unboxed the giant skull animatronic from SCREAMIUM Halloween, and my guest on the show today is none other than the owner of SCREAMIUM and the designer of that 20-inch giant skull animatronic, Mr. Chris Pratt. So obviously, a huge thank you out to Chris for doing this interview with me. We really have a great video for you today, and we dive deep into Chris's past, how he created one of the largest e-commerce candy websites in the world, the creation of SCREAMIUM, the design process for his 20-inch giant skull, and of course, what he has planned for the future of his Halloween products. But without any further ado, let's jump right into the interview with the owner of SCREAMIUM, Mr. Chris Pratt.
Well, hey, Griffin, it's great to be here. Thanks very much for, it's nice to meet an internet Halloween celebrity such as yourself and be able to do this. So thanks for having me.
Well, no problem at all. I don't know if I would consider myself a celebrity by any means, but nonetheless, it is an honor to have you on the show today. I'm very excited to talk to you. And I guess the first thing I want to ask just right off the bat here is, how would you describe your company, your brand, SCREAMIUM? I know you are a very new thing in the market, so how would you describe SCREAMIUM to someone who has never heard of your company in a couple sentences or less?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're a new company. Really, it's just me right now, so very small. And I have an engineering background and a love for all things scary. And so I wanted to start a company that would make cool things and have consistent quality with like kind of high-tech features, but also be affordable for a normal retail consumer. And so that's where I thought Screamium Premium, so we could kind of have that little fun little slogan.
Yeah.
And
I
so
love
that's
that
basically
Screamium Premium. I think that's really good. So I think that is the best way we could have possibly started this interview. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you want to hear from Chris Pratt. Let's get to the questions. So I definitely want to get into your backstory and how you got to Screamium, because we spoke for a little bit and your story seems super interesting, so I wanted to document that on a video. So for the first question here, how did you get to Screamium and what was your past before this new company?
Well, so Screaming came about because I've always had a fascination with scary movies and haunted houses since I was a kid, and I'm pretty old now, so I grew up in the 1980s, so I'm a fan of like kind of campy movies of Friday the 13th and Return of the Living Dead and Evil Dead 2. You know, the hand comes out of the demon possessed hand and it goes into the mouse hole and flips them off. I mean, that kind of stuff I really kind of enjoyed. And I actually made some haunted houses in college and things like that. So, but I also I had an engineering background, so I ended up doing that in college and went to the electric car business, believe it or not, in the 1990s, and that was a really early uh, early stage for that industry. And so I went through this process of working at engineering startups that were in the electric car business and worked with one of the founders of Tesla Motors, but that was before, way before he started Tesla. And and then I went through this phase where I kept getting laid off at these companies because it was so early. I went through about three different venture capital-backed companies. And during that process in 1998, I was sitting across the street from a candy shop eating a burrito. And I said, I'm going to learn about the internet because the internet was hot at that time. And so I thought if I can get someone to give me their credit card for selling some gumballs online. Then I've learned how the internet works. It was kind of more of an experiment. So I started this, uh, one of those early internet e-commerce sites with a black background. And I didn't have a digital camera. I had to take a picture of the candy and then have it developed and then scan it and then cut it out from the background and things like that. So uh, it was very challenging early on to learn about the internet. But because of my technical background, I was able to fake out all the early search engines and was able to have within a year I had as high a listing as Hershey or Nestle on online for certain categories, and so I was able to grow the business over about 20 years and made it into a real company. Went through the whole dot-com boom and bust, and then the whole financial crisis and things like that in the 2008 timeframe, and grew the company uh, up until 2019 when I sold it and had about 40 employees and location in North Carolina for a warehouse and location here in Los Angeles. And I sold it a year before the pandemic struck, which was awesome timing. So so after that, I took a little time off, but I came back and I said, "What am I going to do now with my seasonal business knowledge and an engineering background in motors and electronics?" And my love of Halloween. And I'm one of those people that really decorates our house. Like we're the neighborhood where everybody comes and tens of thousands of dollars of animatronics at our house and stuff. And so I said, I'm gonna see if I can start an animatronics Halloween company. And so that's how Screamium kind of came to be uh, in the past 3 years. So 2001, I started it.
That is, that's an insane story, and that is why I wanted to have this documented in this interview, because I don't know how many people can say that that is their story, going from electric cars to having one of the first online candy sellers to now where you are today is insane. Like, it's just a crazy, crazy story, and even things like you're saying on getting yourself in search listings to where Hershey was on Google, like, absolutely bonkers. And to think that now you're here in Halloween, that is absolutely wild. And again, it's just a crazy story. So next up, I wanted to dive into one of your newest products and the thing that I actually just unboxed here on the channel, and that is the giant skull that everyone is seeing right behind me. So in a quick explanation, how would you describe the giant skull to someone who, I was going to say has never seen it, but you've got it in your background, it's in my background, so by now they've definitely seen it. But how would you describe it to someone, and what would you describe the features as?
Well, it's really kind of interesting. It took me, you'd think it'd be a really simple product to make, but here, let me just describe it first. So it's a giant skull. It's 22 inches high, and it rotates 30 degrees front, and it's lit from inside with an LED light bulb, and has a motion sensor that detects motion and has audio that can play. And actually, so the audio is reprogrammable, and you can also update update the product to new, offer new. I can download new firmware to it through a port in the front. So it's kind of got some unique features in terms of being able to customize it if you would like.
And my next question is kind of continuing piggybacking off of that. What was the design process like for the giant skull? From your idea, if what was the thing that came up with the idea for a giant skull, and then what was the actual just design process of making something that could actually be produced and made and eventually in someone's hands and actually being a real product?
Right. Well, I started off with this prototype right here. This was something that, because I'm a fan of zombies and zombie movies, and so I always wanted to create my own zombie. So I 3D printed this. So that was my first concept, is I want to make a really cool zombie that kind of glows in the dark, and I didn't see anything like it on the market. And so I 3D printed this, and I learned through that process that it's super expensive to really do some of these high-end things. Like this prototype with the 3D printing and all the base and even doing a lot of it myself still cost $6,000. And so
Wow.
there's no way to really retail that. And so and to be able to print it in a translucent material where light can shine through it is tricky, as opposed to you could just put a latex mask
Yeah.
over a bulb or something in that, but it really wouldn't light up well,
Hmm.
and it would be a fire hazard probably. So I wanted to also make it where it could move back and forth, and the concept of having a light bulb inside of a head and have it, you can't you can't just stick a light bulb in there unless it's battery powered, which I didn't want to have to change batteries. So I wanted it to be AC powered, 110 volts. So I wanted it to be able to something to rotate around a center. And you can't just rotate the whole head because then the wires twist up. And so I had to devise a way where it has a little a ring gear and like a planetary gear that makes it rotate around. And so I did that for my prototype, and that made it kind of complicated. And so I made this work and realized this is way too expensive. So I figured I'm gonna try and do something that's a little more simple, and work with a company in Hong Kong that can actually make it cheaper and make it from translucent material that's still very high quality. And so from that, I thought I better start with something that's white. And so that's kind of where I transitioned from the zombie to the skull, and something that's a little bit lighter colored so I could make sure that it glows well. And even if it's made out of a high quality poly resin, uh, that's very durable and is not going to break. It will last for eons, possibly. But it has a half-life of 1 billion years, that material. So anyway, I wanted to have something that's really high quality, and so the skull I thought was a nice way to do it. Uh, and I tried painting the skull myself when I got my first prototype, and that's when I learned I'm really not an artist. Like the guy at Distortions Unlimited, he's like a true painting artist. And so I said I gotta find someone over there that does it, and so they were able to find a high quality I guess an artist
Yeah.
who actually hand paints each piece after it's come out of the roto mold. So that's how the concept kind of came together. And then we had to devise a way to one little unique feature is there's a little black hood you can see over the motion sensor. And that was because the rotation of the head was triggering the audio. And so we had to block. That was a little design feature we had to add after we had molded the base. And so you'll notice that little piece on there, but we had to figure out how to not trigger the motion sensor while the head is rotating. So you'd think it'd be a simple thing, but it was kind of tricky to figure all that out. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the product came out, and I'm finishing up some final details on getting like a longer power cord. Some things because of my first production order, the power cord was a little short, so now I have added an extension. I'm going to also try and increase the audio volumes, things like that in the near future.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And something I just want to mention because you talked about it is the quality on this thing. And I spoke about this in my unboxing video that by the time people are watching this, they would be able to watch. And it's that the quality on this thing is really impressive. And it is, so I didn't know exactly what it was. I said in my video that I thought it was resin, and you just said it was poly resin. It's super nice quality. I mean, the thing is heavy. It's over 10 pounds. I read on your website. I was doing some research for my video. The skull itself is super, super nice. And it's a breath of fresh air within the market, and especially for Screamium, which is a newer company in the market, to have a product like that it weighs over 10 pounds as one of the first products is incredibly impressive. And the quality of it, and I say this in my video, that was the first thing I noticed. I pulled it out and I felt the skull. I'm like, this thing is legit made nice material. So I love that. And another thing I wanted to mention that you just talked about was I think it's so cool to hear the full design process story for the skull, because when it comes to Halloween stuff, I don't think people always realize how much time goes into developing these items. Sometimes you look at something and you say, oh, it's just this, and maybe it only took this long. Then you hear it from someone who made something like this giant skull, and you hear the amount of time that goes into developing a product like this, and also the small nuances, like the things you're mentioning with the motion sensor picking up on the skull animation. That's such a small thing that no one would think of, but it's something that you're going to stumble upon while you're trying to develop it. So I always love asking different people how they make the things they do, because you always get great information like that, and it kind of pulls the curtain back a little bit on the mystique, I guess, of creating these Halloween products. Another question I had, and you kind of just touched on it, so if you don't have an answer for it now, that's totally fine. But are there any other, I don't want to say mishaps, I'll say bumps in the road that you came up with when manufacturing and designing this? Because, like I just said, customers like me and fans in the market, we don't see the manufacturing side of the whole industry. We see the products being released, and then I just like to buy them. That's basically it. So, as someone like yourself who's now seen that other side of the business, the manufacturing side, was there any other bumps in the road that you came up with designing a product like this one?
Yeah, first of all was the material, like trying to find something that light would pass through, but also be a high quality material. Like this zombie guy, the material that was printed here in the United States, and the material is very expensive, and so to be able to find something that let light pass through pretty well, but still be a high quality, durable material was challenging. And then another part was finding finding a way to be able to update the firmware, and because we've had some bugs, and so we're working on some bugs right now on the timer. You think it would be kind of simple thing having the 6 hours on, 18 hours off timer, which a lot of people, if they just want to put the skull out in their front window or on their porch, you just want to turn it on October 1st, and it just runs for the whole month. You don't want to have to go out and turn it on and off every day. And so I wanted to make sure that the timer functionality was working. But in our case, you had to also turn off the motor and turn off, it's the motor is controlled separate from the motion sensor and the light. And so it turned out to be kind of a unique challenge, because this company I'm working with, it's not their specialty. They do more than just Halloween products, and so I'm having to teach them about why people in America want to save electricity at night when they don't want to leave it on 24 hours a day. So things like that, like basic training, the manufacturing of this manufacturing plan of how to do a Halloween product like this.
So I guess the final question I had for you is, obviously we are talking about Transworld coming up in March, the Transworld 2024 show, but let's kind of do a little bit of time travel here. Let's jump forward to Transworld 2025, so just over a year from now. Where do you hope that Screamium will be at Transworld 2025 in terms of what you're going to have available, and what do you want the company to look like a year from right now?
Well, at that time, I'm hoping to have some bigger sales revenues, but also in product development, I'm going to be having generative AI and lasers. No, I'm kidding. That's a little too far. That's 2026. Laser eyes. But no, so I'm working on some cool things that are man, I don't want to kill the surprise, but they're really kind of unique, that use different materials and light and liquid and sound and motors. So it's going to be kind of this whole new concept I'm trying to work on. And yeah, I think it'll be really a surprise. And I'm not even sure who the customer is. I'm just kind of designing things that I would like to have at a cool Halloween party. We always have a Halloween party at our house, and I like to decorate, and so I know, and from the candy business, I kind of was one of the first ones who was in the candy buffet, where you would have like 10 or 20 jars filled with candy, and you'd buy by the color. I was one of the ones who came up with the concept of selling candy by color, even before Party City, probably. I was doing it in 2001, whatever. So I design things where I see customers can use them in a unique way and really kind of shock and awe their friends and neighbors if they come over for Halloween. So that's my goal. And I like jump scares too. So one of my favorite things, which I plan to do in the future, is really figure out a way to create a good jump scare. Like the jumping spider, I think it's one of the most popular things. Out of all these thousands of dollars in animation, that jumping spider still really works. It's like a classic killer product. So I like those kind of things that are, $50 to $100 price range where you can just use a motion sensor or a step pad and really, make the children cry. That's the goal in the long run. You make those kids cry when they come to get the candy. That makes me cry with tears of joy when I see the little ones tearing up. It's awesome.
That's the goal. That's the goal. Well, after hearing what you're teasing about and what you got in the works, things with liquid, things with new materials, all I have to say is, if right now I had to place a bet on a company that could be a legit player in the game in a couple years, I'm putting my money on Screamium. I am definitely very excited to see what you're going to be able to make and what you're going to come up with within the next couple of years, and I think you're going to have a massive fan base again come these couple of years. But I have one last question for you, and this one you did not know about earlier. I am bringing this for all the viewers who used to watch Channel 1031. This is making a return for this interview. As you can see, I have an A right here on an envelope. I have a B on an envelope, both mysteriously covered in blood. They're just covered in blood, and this is the bloody bonus question. So, Chris, you got two decisions here. You can go with A, or you can go with B.
Oh, plan B. Let's go plan B.
Okay, let's take a look. B right here. Let's see.
Oh, it's a mystery.
It's a mystery, all right. It is
I
definitely.
have no idea what's going to happen next.
It could be crazy. These bloody bonuses could get crazy. Okay, all right. This is a good one. So the bloody bonus for Mr. Chris Pratt of Screamium is: if you were captured and locked in a dungeon, and the person who captured you, they told you, listen, I'm going to keep you alive, but I'm only going to feed you candy for the rest of your life. Plays very well into your background. What is the candy that you would pick to be fed for the rest of your life? That's the only thing you're going to be eating for the rest of eternity. Which candy are you going to pick?
Oh man, I think I would have to go with the challenge. Probably in a cave. Oh man. Hmm. Maybe uh I was gonna think the Kit Kat bar because it's kind of a mix of a cookie and a
Yeah.
chocolate. So maybe one of those rare Japanese Kit Kat bars.
Oh.
But then I'm thinking chocolate covered fruits. Like I had these really nice chocolate covered uh like blueberries or raspberries. All those things are awesome too. Maybe dark chocolate covered raspberries. I think that might be it. Dried raspberries. Ooh.
And
Oh
there you go.
yes.
And you're kind of even like beating the system there because you're getting a raspberry and you're getting chocolate. So you're kind of getting two
I know. I'm
foods.
getting some nutrients to help me survive in the cave. Because pretty soon I'm gonna be only to see by sound. I'm gonna be like one of those cave dwellers in Descent or whatever, just like
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's a pretty good answer. That's a good answer for today's bloody bonus question. But, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Mr. Chris Pratt, the owner of Screamium and the creator of that giant skull that you saw behind me, as well as the zombie that you're seeing behind him, and all of the stuff that he has on his website, which obviously you can go down to the very top link in my description. Please go check out Screamium's website. Go give them a follow on all social media, because like we spoke about this entire interview, I definitely believe that Screamium is going to have big future and some definitely cool things coming, just like Chris was teasing us about during this interview. So, Chris, do you have any final words for the viewers?
well, yeah, I just want to say thanks for having me on. And well, I was hoping to be able to say your world famous goodbye at the end too.
Oh,
Is that possible?
yeah,
Oh, but
absolutely.
yeah, please come check out our website. And we're a family business, and we're small, obviously, and just starting out. So if you could come support us and check it out, that would be awesome.
But, Chris, you want to hit the goodbye, so I feel like
Oh
we should both
yeah.
do it at the exact same time. This
Oh,
is
can
the
we?
first
Awesome.
time.
It'll be a split screen. Or
Yeah. So we got both screens on right now. Everyone's gonna say at
oh
the same
yes,
time.
let's do
No one
it.
has ever done this
Okay.
before. Only me.
Oh man,
So
this is
this is the first
exciting. I'm a
time.
little nervous.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on this. So we'll do a countdown here. So three,
Wait.
2, 1.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes.